Welcome, everyone, to Congregation Va-Dor's Tuesday evening program, Touch of Jewish History. Tonight, we're featuring the story, the life, the career of MARLEE MATLIN. Thank you all for being with us tonight. And with that, I'm going to get into my little biography part here. MARLEE MATLIN was born on August 24th, 1965, the youngest child and only daughter of Don and Libby Matlin. She grew up in the Morton Grove suburb of Chicago, an upper-middle-class neighborhood, far removed from the modest immigrant origins of her grandparents, all of whom arrived in the United States from Eastern Europe in the 1910s and 1920s. She had two older brothers. MARLEE's unique first name came indirectly from her maternal grandmother, Rose, who asked that her granddaughter be named for Molly, Rose's half-sister, who helped bring Rose and her two oldest children to the United States from Poland. MARLEE's mother, who despised her Aunt Molly, accepted this request, but with a twist. After attending a luncheon featuring an engaging speaker named Marley, her mother decided that the name was close enough to Molly to satisfy her own mother's wishes. Since she was 18 months old, MARLEE has had absolutely no hearing in one ear and roughly 20% hearing in the other. MARLEE credits her parents for their decision to have her grow up at home and attend mainstream schools rather than following the advice of her doctors and sending her to a school for the deaf hundreds of miles away. She began taking speech lessons at 3 and American Sign Language, ASL, lessons at 5. MARLEE's Jewish identity held great significance in her early life as she continued to find ways to bridge the gaps between the hearing and deaf worlds. As she has said, "I wouldn't be who I am if I weren't Jewish." She attributes her can-do attitude, her intensity, and her relentless need to break through and connect to her Jewish heritage. The Matlin family attended B'nai Shalom, a Reform synagogue in nearby Skokie, Illinois, that catered to both hearing and deaf congregants, allowing the young MARLEE to explore her Jewishness in an accessible and welcoming setting. MARLEE studied Torah for 2 to 3 years with her rabbi, who signed and spoke, to prepare her for her bat mitzvah, a pivotal event in her life that gave her the drive, the foundation to believe in herself, despite what other people say. MARLEE spoke the Hebrew sections of the service and signed her Devar Torah in English, and her successful reading of her Torah portion elicited tears from her parents, brothers, and other relatives. As MARLEE recalls, seeing her family cry made her cry as well. And when she apologized to her rabbi for allowing her tears to fall on the Torah, he told her that our history is stained by tears. Your tears are a wonderful mitzvah. When MARLEE was 7, her parents began sending her to the Center on Deafness and the Arts, a Chicago-based institution that offered after-school and weekend arts programs for deaf, hard of hearing, and hearing children. The founder noticed MARLEE's natural affinity for acting and love for music, encouraging her to perform with hearing children as a member of the Traveling Hands troupe, where she sang songs that hearing members of the group sang. When she was 12, MARLEE met actor Henry Winkler while performing with the Traveling Hands troupe. The meeting changed her life. Upon seeing MARLEE perform the song, "Free to Be You and Me," Henry Winkler was struck by how powerful her performance was. This human being, whether she could hear or not, was born to do this. Her power, her commitment, her ability, that intangible, whatever it is that makes a star, was radiating off of her like heat waves. Winkler and his wife Stacy sought out MARLEE backstage, where Winkler encouraged MARLEE to follow her acting dreams, despite her mother's reservations. He became a lifelong mentor and father figure as MARLEE came of age and began to pursue a career in Hollywood. In 1985, Marlee got her first professional acting job, a small role in the Chicago stage production of the play Children of a Lesser God. This led to her being asked to audition in New York for a screen test with Oscar winner William Hurt in the newly created film version of the same name, playing the leading role of Sarah Norman, the angry and isolated deaf school custodian who refuses to lip read or speak. Her performance in the film Children of a Lesser God, powerful, expressive, and charismatic, earned immediate attention both from the film industry and from critics. And in 1987, at just 21, Marlee won both the Golden Globe for Best Actress in a Drama and the Oscar for Best Actress for her role. Marlee is a premier advocate for the deaf community and accessibility, playing a key role in the widespread adoption of closed captioning for both film and television. She became the spokesperson for the National Captioning Institute in 1987, recruiting fellow members of the Hollywood elite to support her cause and championing closed captioning in the media. In 1990, she testified before Congress to urge for mandated closed captioning on all TVs, which was passed into law 3 years later. Marlee was awarded the Academy Award of Merit for Advanced Captioning Technology in 2025. Marlee has pursued opportunities that she thought would inspire deaf children. For example, she appeared as herself on Sesame Street in 1988 with Billy Joel to sign Just the Way You Are, or when she signed the national anthem at the Super Bowl in 1993 and again in 2007. Marlee's television career includes a number of guest and recurring roles on hit series such as Seinfeld, The West Wing, Picket Fences, Spin City, ER, Law and Order, Special Victims Unit, Desperate Housewives, and The L Word. Marlee has been nominated for 4 Primetime Emmy Awards for her work on television. In 2008, Marlee became the first ever deaf participant on ABC's Dancing with the Stars, making it through 6 weeks of competition by using what she called an internal metronome. She also appeared on Broadway in a history-making production of the Tony-winning rock musical Spring Awakening in 2015, featuring a cast of deaf actors signing their lives and songs. While working on the set of NBC's Reasonable Doubts, co-starring Marlee and Mark Harmon from 1991 to 1993, Marlee met Kevin Gradowski, a Burbank, California police officer. They were married on August 29, 1993, by a priest and a rabbi at a private ceremony and reception for family and friends at the Toluca Lake, California, home of Henry and Stacy Winkler. They have 4 children, 2 daughters and 2 sons, and 1 granddaughter, 2-year-old Brooklyn Rose. Their household is interfaith, and the family celebrates both Jewish and Christian holidays, and are now married for over 32 years. Marlee has her own ASL app called Marlee Signs, which provides ASL education to students of all levels. She has also written a number of children's books, including Deaf Child Crossing in 2002, Nobody's Perfect in 2006, and Leading Ladies in 2007, and her own memoir in 2009, I'll Scream Later. So let's get on with the program and Marlee Matlin's life and career. This first video I have for you is one Sunday morning program, and it talks about her life.
Until you let me be an I the way you are, you can never come inside my silence and know me.
Decades after Marlee Matlin won an Oscar for her role in the movie Children of a Lesser God, she's still leading the charge for deaf and disabled actors. Our man in Hollywood, Ben Mankiewicz, sat down with Matlin to discuss her upcoming movie and her ongoing crusade.
She was just 21 years old when she won Hollywood's most coveted prize.
And the winner is MARLEE MATLIN.
You have to understand that I was a girl from Chicago who appeared on the scene out of nowhere.
34 years later, she remains the only deaf person to win an Academy Award in any category. We sat down with Matlin and Jack Jason, her longtime interpreter and friend, at her home in L.A.
When I won the Oscar, the community was obviously very thrilled, certainly. And then they said, okay, now what? What are you going to do for us? It was a heavy load.
Her new film, Coda, now streaming on Apple TV, is the story of deaf parents with two children, a deaf son and a hearing daughter.
I can't always be that person.
Emilia Jones plays the daughter. Matlin is the mother.
It's about a hearing girl who wants to sing, but she has deaf parents who rely on her to interpret, and they always have.
They want hearing actors as the father and the older brother. And you say,
I said, if you do that, if you choose somebody who's going to play a deaf person, I'm out.
that suggests to me that maybe 35 years after Children of a Lesser God and 34 years after the Oscar, that you're a little more comfortable making some noise.
In all honesty, I didn't even think. I just said it, I put it out there. And this time, we carried the film.
I was envious, and I think my wife was too, of the marriage. Like, that's what I want, right? That was it. That's as good as it gets. Right?
You can still do it.
Yes, no, we're good. We're good. But it's...
I'm going to tell you what to do tonight.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
This is the mussiest thing I've ever heard.
The way you are.
As the most famous deaf person in show business, and probably the country, Matlin has worked steadily since her debut.
Never do that to a grouch!
You idiot! I'm Joey Lucas.
Feisty on the West Wing.
I want to know why the White House is screwing around with me.
Well, maybe you can stick around after everybody leaves and we can sweep together.
Why don't you stick around and we can sleep together?
Funny on Seinfeld. And always game, quickly becoming an audience favorite on Dancing with the Stars. She's come a long way from the Chicago suburb where she grew up as the deaf child in a hearing family. Her hearing loss was caused by illness and high fevers when she was just 1.5.
My childhood was so normal. I was just so happy to have great neighbors, great schools, great friends, great family.
You're a big sports fan.
Yes, I am. Big time. My father and I always watched sports together. You really didn't need captions to watch sports.
Her parents enrolled her in a weekend arts program for deaf children, where the camp director cast 8-year-old Marley as Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. What do you think Dr. Pat saw in you that made her think this little girl could be Dorothy?
I guess she saw in me, as a little girl who was very outspoken, who was very much of a people person, a social butterfly maybe. And I don't know, or maybe she was just looking for a Dorothy. Who knows? I don't know. And she found a Dorothy.
For this Dorothy, there was no place like the stage, and she owned it. When Henry Winkler saw her perform at an arts festival for deaf kids when she was 12, Matlin found a lifelong mentor.
He looked at me and he said, Marley, you can be whatever you want to be as long as you believe in yourself and your heart.
Winkler and Matlin stayed close. How close? Soon after she won the Academy Award, Henry and his wife Stacy invited her over for the weekend to show off her Oscar. She moved out 2 years later.
Henry and Stacy Winkler are a godsend to me.
It wasn't an easy time in Matlin's life. The night she won the Oscar, she'd been out of rehab for a serious drug addiction for just 30 days. After the parties, she got into a limo with her Oscar and her co-star and boyfriend, William Hurt.
He didn't sit next to me. He sat across from me. He looked at me, looked at the Oscar, looked at me, looked at the Oscar. And he said, do you realize how many actors have worked for so many years to get what you got, that little man, in one film? And I didn't know what to say. I couldn't say anything.
You're newly sober, you're 21, you're in Hollywood, and you have this enormous high of the Oscar win and then this devastating low of the man you love belittling you on the same night. I just know it's hard. I know sobriety is hard for anybody.
It is the hardest thing. I still say to myself, one day at a time, I still do. But if Henry was not in my life, he and his wife, both, were the ones who held my hand, guided me, and didn't let go. And when I said I had to move out, Stacy said, the first thing she said, what did we do wrong? And I said, no, Stacy, I need to fly the coop. I need to grow up.
I need space.
I need space.
Today, Marlee Matlin's life is full whether she's working or not. She and her husband, Kevin Grandalski, have 4 children, all hearing. You ever feel isolated in a house with 5 hearing people?
I wouldn't say isolated, because I'm accustomed to it. Growing up, it was the same thing. But yet, I always say, what did you say? Or what are you talking about? And they tell me. Probably the only difference from when I grew up.
Her son Tyler heads to college this week. His mom made sure to show him Coda before he left.
She was like, hey, do you want to watch a movie with me? And I was like, sure, what movie? She's like, let's watch Coda.
Did you note her watching you during it?
Yes. Every time she'd kind of come on, she'd kind of just look. And I'm like, you're doing great. Don't worry, you know.
Marlee Matlin may be doing great, but there is still work to do.
Now I do. I look forward to more opportunities. And not just me, but for deaf actors, writers, directors, people who work behind the camera. We have a history. We have a culture. We are part of the diverse continuum. So what do? I talk about it. I make noise about it.
The next one is the trailer of Children of a Lesser God. It's 1986. The previous video that we watched was from 2022.
Who is that?
That's Sarah.
Is she a teacher too?
She was one of the brightest students we've ever had.
He was warned about her.
Why doesn't she use her voice?
Sarah's not hard of hearing. She's totally deaf.
Sarah, you are the most mysterious, beautiful, angry person I have ever met.
Look, James, I've seen this kind of thing before. It just doesn't work. I love her.
Don't be sad for you.
What began as a simple challenge.
All right, I won't.
Became a love story beyond words. Academy Award winner William Hurt.
Man, you want to talk to me? Then you learn my language. Speak!
Marlee Matlin.
Don't hate you for not learning how to speak. Sarah, I love you.
Children of a Lesser God.
Help me. Teach me.
Love has a language all its own.
The next one is another biography of her. There might be some repetition. I apologize for that.
Marlee Matlin is without a doubt the most visible deaf actor in Hollywood. But did you know she was in the Betty Ford Center for Addiction when she learned about her Academy Award nomination? Keep watching for a look back at Matlin's personal and professional struggles. Marlee Matlin lost her hearing when she was only 1.5 and, for a long time, believed it to be a result of high fevers from the roseola virus. It was not until her early 40s that the actor learned that her genetics were also likely a factor, according to The Guardian. In her autobiography, I'll Scream Later, the actor discusses how a malformed cochlea may have been the cause of her hearing loss, explaining, "That meant that I could likely hear when I was born, but that my hearing would recede over the first couple of years of my life." life. Though Matlin has emphasized that she had a relatively pleasant and normal childhood, she has noted feeling excluded as the only deaf person in a family of hearing individuals, telling The Guardian that she often was angered watching her siblings do things like call their grandmother or play musical instruments. This feeling of disconnection largely subsided by the time Matlin was a preteen, she said. Even still, she has admitted to struggling with group conversations in her family. She told KCRW in March 2022, "There are times when I'm sitting there and everybody's talking in the family and I'm always using my voice like, 'Hello, I'm here.' Some days I do get upset if I don't get enough communication or I need to get more information than I typically would to operate in my life, from my kids or from extended family." Marlee Matlin has had good things to say about her childhood in many interviews, and she has maintained that her early life in the suburbs of Chicago was rather typical despite her deafness. She told CBS News in 2021, "My childhood was so normal. I was just so happy to have great neighbors, great schools, great friends, great family." Amid her declarations of ordinariness, Matlin has also revealed past traumas that she experienced as a youngster. For instance, she revealed in her autobiography that she was molested at the age of 11 at the hands of a babysitter. Matlin's abuser was a 16-year-old female caregiver who had been entrusted to watch over her, and the experience deeply impacted the actor. She revealed on Larry King Live in 2009, "I masked it, and I covered it up, and I masked it at a very early age with drugs." The actor also noted that she told no one of the tragic experience, not a teacher, not a parent, not even a friend. The first person she told was her husband, police officer Kevin Grandalski, whom she married in 1993. Though it is heartbreaking to learn that Marlee Matlin was molested as a preteen, her dreadful experience with sexually inappropriate authority figures did not end there. 3 years after her babysitter's abuse, Matlin was again molested, this time by a teacher, she revealed on Larry King Live. "It was a teacher who I looked up to and became friendly with. At the time, I wanted good grades, and I wanted his approval." Matlin would later learn that the married teacher took advantage of other young females in a similar manner, but at the time, she did not recognize the full extent of the impropriety.
I didn't think, it was illegal.
Matlin added, "I mean, that didn't even pop in my mind. I was never told what was right and what was wrong about the situation, and at the time I'm thinking it's wrong because he's married." In a 2009 ABC News interview, Matlin shared that she decided to publicly reveal her abuse story because of her young daughter. Given her experiences, it is no surprise that Matlin turned to substances to shield her from her pain, a path that has led to a lifelong battle with addiction. Marlee Matlin's cocaine use eventually escalated to the point where she needed professional intervention. Not even 2 days after she won a Golden Globe Award for her performance in Children of a Lesser God, Matlin checked herself into the Betty Ford Center, against the advice of those around her. She told The Guardian in 2021, "No one wanted me to go into rehab because I had just made a movie and the potential of getting an Oscar was going in my direction. And I said, yeah, but to keep going, I need to take care of myself first. I had to get sober so I could think clearly." It was while in rehab that Matlin learned of her Academy Award nomination, according to a Larry King Live interview she did in 2009.
I was nominated my second week. My counselor woke me up at 5:30 in the morning.
It was also there that she apparently came up with the name for her autobiography, I'll Scream Later, which was her response to finding out the big news. In 2017, Matlin celebrated 30 years of sobriety by posting a photo on social media, writing, "Today, 30 years of being sober, that's my chip. I thank my husband, children, family, friends, and me. I cannot imagine my life without it." Winning an Academy Award is a monumental achievement that most actors can only hope for, but it also brings with it lots of expectations for future endeavors. Marlee Matlin was only 21 when she won her Best Actress Oscar. She was a fresh face in Hollywood with no other credits under her belt. To date, she remains the youngest ever winner in the category and the sole female deaf actor to win an Academy Award. Matlin broke barriers for a community that is still fighting for representation in the media, but that comes with responsibility and heaviness. Representing a marginalized community is a weighty thing for any actor, let alone one so young. Though her Coda co-star Troy Kotsur became an Oscar winner himself in 2022, for many years Matlin was the sole face of acclaimed deaf actors. She alone was left holding the mantle for representing the deaf community in Hollywood, which is something that brought its own set of pressures. She explained on CBS Sunday Morning, "When I won the Oscar, the community was very obviously very thrilled, certainly, and then they said, okay, now what? What are you gonna do for us?" It was a heavy load. Matlin might have expected the doors of Hollywood to open up after her Oscar win, as they tend to do for many young winners. In reality, the acclaimed actor had a relatively tough time finding projects due to her deafness. She admitted to Town & Country in 2021, "Offers don't overwhelm me. My phone is not ringing off the hook constantly. I have to work harder to find projects that I can do." Matlin has learned that roles like Sarah Norman in Children of a Lesser God, leading roles where deaf people are front and center, are few and far between. Matlin told Time magazine, "I think people who have the power are just afraid when it comes to deaf and disabled characters in feature films. It's just the way it is." Though she has continued to work in Hollywood, Matlin's standout projects have often been on a much smaller scale than her film Coda, which features a majority deaf cast. But whether it has been a one-off appearance as a lip-reading girlfriend on Seinfeld, or her recurring role as a pollster on The West Wing, Matlin has been fantastic in all of her projects.
Oh, well, what are you, deaf?
Bingo!
And while media with hearing-impaired people in leading roles remains rare, there has been a slow progression toward inclusion with films such as Sound of Metal and television shows like Deaf You and Switched at Birth, on which Matlin played the mother of a deaf son. She also works behind the scenes and produced a documentary special for A&D in 2018 called Deaf Out Loud. As an advocate, MARLEE Matlin has been instrumental in moving deaf representation forward, not just in film, but in other areas as well. For instance, Matlin is currently pushing for the presidential administration to employ ASL interpreters at their speeches and press briefings. She told KCRW, "I like to take advantage of the fact that I'm in front of the media, but I've always been that way. I've always been that kind of deaf person." It did not shock us to learn then that Matlin was instrumental in the casting process for Coda. Though Coda is about a family of all deaf characters, save for teenage daughter Ruby, producers pushed for a big-name hearing actor in the role of Matlin's husband, Frank. She was adamant that they cast a deaf actor in the role, even going so far as to put her own participation on the line. She said in a 2021 Time magazine interview, "You can't have hearing actors play deaf characters, regardless of how big of a name you put in there or box office. Playing a deaf character is not a costume you can put on or take off at the end of the day." With Coda winning the Best Picture Oscar, we can only hope that Hollywood continues to push the boundaries of inclusion for not only deaf actors, but all people with disabilities and differences.
The one I have for you is Ellen DeGeneres.
Hi. Hi. We're joined by Marlee's interpreter, producing partner, Jack Jason. Good to see you again.
Nice to see you too.
How are you? I'm good. How are you?
Good.
Older. Yes, well, we're all older, yeah. But it's good to see you. You were on the show. I was not here. You were on with a guest host. But we have known each other for a long time. Do you remember where we met?
We met ages ago, but we still look the same.
Yes.
I think we met at the Emmys. It was a rehearsal, and I was sitting in the audience waiting for my call up, and then you sat next to me, and I was like, oh, okay. Oh, okay. And I, like this, and I said, Jack, what do I do? It's Ellen. You said, say hello. I'm like, hi. And you're like, hi. I'm like, hi, okay. And I mean, I talk a lot, and I couldn't say a word because hello, that's all I could say.
Well, hello again. That's so funny. I don't remember that at all. It was a long time ago, but I just feel like I've known you forever.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, you really made an impression on me, and I really respect you.
Well, thank you. Well, and I respect you. I think you're amazing.
I think so too.
Coda, and I'm very happy for you because Coda is making all kinds of history with these awards. So explain what's happening and what Coda is about.
So the movie is about a family of four. Three of them are deaf, and it's a mother, a father, and a son, and then they have a hearing daughter, and that's called a child of deaf adults. That's why it's called Coda. And it's about her journey because she wants to follow her dreams. She wants to be in music, and clearly music isn't part of the deaf world. So it's about the journey, about how we have to go with it along with her, and about the dynamics in this film. And it's a fabulous film.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It's a great story. It's a great story, and it's a small town. I think I shot a movie there as well. It's like in Massachusetts, someplace, right?
We shot it in Gloucester, a great, wonderful small town, Gloucester, and another little town called Rockport. And the people there are amazing. It's a fishing town. It's a fishing town. Everybody there fishes. And the respect that I gained for people who fish, who work so hard on those boats, who fish every day at, early morning hours, it's amazing. It's amazing. Yeah. And they have the best ice cream. The best ice cream.
I remember that. They do have good ice cream there.
You've been there?
Yeah. I think I filmed Love Letter there, a movie there. Yeah.
I'd go back in a second.
Yeah, me too. I thought about buying a house there. That's how much I liked it.
Yeah, will you invite me to make sure to come and visit you?
Yes, I will.
And then we'll go for ice cream together.
I'll do it.
Okay,
I'll do it.
good.
All right. So with all these award ceremonies coming up, you won your Oscar when you were 21 years old, right? Mm-hmm. 21. What do you remember about that?
Ooh, well, let's see, 6 years ago. 35 years ago. 35 years ago, which most of the audience wasn't even born yet. But in any case, I remember thinking, I'm just a regular girl from Chicago. And there's movie stars sitting to the left, to the right of me. And it was just, when I was called and to get the Oscar, I was thinking William Hurt, who called my name, was teasing, was making a joke on live television. But wait a minute, no, you can't do this on live television. It's not the place in front of millions of people. And I said, okay, fine, I guess I'll just get up and get my award. I had no speech prepared, and I just went with the flow. That was how I was. I'm still shocked. I'm still shocked.
Well, that's the way to go, because then there's no disappointment. It's only excitement if you weren't expecting it at all.
Well, no. People say, hey, it's okay. It's nice to be nominated. It's okay. You don't have to win. But I'm like, I guess. But I haven't experienced that yet. But, with an Emmy, I haven't gotten one yet. But there you go. Yep. 4-time Emmy nominated. That's okay, right?
Yeah, it is. That's fine. You also, speaking of the Super Bowl, which was yesterday, you performed at the Super Bowl with some amazing singers. What was that like for you?
It was pretty cool. The first time was with Garth Brooks. The second time was with Billy Joel, my heart, and then Lady Gaga. And that experience with Garth Brooks was amazing because it was probably, it was memorable only because we were supposed to be on stage together, standing next to each other, and as it was time to go, with just 5 minutes to spare, for some reason, I couldn't hear all the commotion that was going on, but he came up to me, he kissed me on the cheek, and he said, Marley, you're going to do great. I'm thinking, yeah, okay, but where are you going? And he left. He left. And some sort of mix-up between him and the producers or whatever it was. And so I'm thinking, they asked me, can you sing, Marley? I'm like, wait a minute, no, I can't sing. I don't think so. I can sign, but not sing. Yeah. So I walked out into the middle of the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, underneath, outside, in front of millions of people waiting under the flag to come out. And 30 seconds, just before it was time to do it, he kissed me, he came up, and we kicked ass. And there we are, right there.
Amazing. Yeah. What about...
I think I had tears in my eyes.
Yeah, I think I had a tear in my eye.
Sure, of course. It's great seeing you again. Coda is streaming now on Apple TV+. We'll be right back. Marlee Matlin, everybody.
So I have for you next the trailer of Coda, C-O-D.
There are plenty of pretty voices with nothing to say. Do you have something to say?
Sometimes I get a good feeling, yeah. I get a feeling that I never had before.
You're the girl with the deaf family?
Yeah. I just want to tell you right now.
And you sing. Interesting.
Something's got a hold on me here.
What are you doing next year?
Working with my family.
Let me tell you now, I've got a feeling, I feel so strange. Everything about me seems to have changed.
I've been coaching for Berklee College of Music. I can help you get a scholarship.
want to do this.
There are plenty of pretty voices with nothing to say. Do you have something to say?
You will be required to have a hearing individual on board at all times.
I can't stay with you for the rest of my life. I've never done anything without my family before. All that I need to get by.
The next one I have for you is a PBS interview.
At the Academy Awards this coming Sunday, the film Coda is nominated for 3 awards, including Best Picture. One of the main actors in Coda, MARLEE MATLIN, has brought strong characters to the screen for 35 years. Tonight, she shares her brief but spectacular take on uplifting deaf actors and others in the disability community in Hollywood.
I remember when I was about 8 or 9, I was watching TV, and I remember seeing a deaf actor on TV, signing, speaking my language. And I remember thinking, well, I'd love to act. If I can see her acting on television, why can't I do that when I grew up? When I won my Academy Award back in 1987, people in my community, my deaf community, were saying to me, Marley, you need to speak up because you have to be an advocate for us. You have to do this and this and that on our behalf. And I was just 21. I didn't understand what all that meant. That's why it's called Coda. And it's about the journey that this family goes through. And it's a very positive view of deaf people, and it's a reflection of what happens in real life. It's just a feel-good movie. My experience on this set was really completely different than something I've been accustomed to. And the reason is because most of the people signed, the crew learned to sign. There were deaf actors, other than myself, that I could involve myself in conversations, whether it was at lunch or just talking between setups. There were interpreters everywhere. It was like one big family. I had a conversation with a few people who let me know about the studio's thoughts of casting Troy Kotzer's character of Frank with someone famous, hearing, playing deaf. And I thought, it's not happening on my watch. And I said, I'm out. I'm out of the film if you should have a hearing actor play deaf. I've been saying recently that being deaf is not a costume. And by that I mean for hearing actors to play deaf, because hearing actors don't have the experience of what it's like to live with a disability. They haven't lived it. I know that people say, well, what is acting then? And I get it. And you know, I could play a cop, or I could play a mother, I could play a teacher, I could play whatever it is. But you can't play someone deaf or disabled. It doesn't come off as real. I think people in the entertainment business don't give the disability and deaf community the time to be able to communicate and talk about how important it is to collaborate, to be able to give them a chance to learn where we all come from. I'm Marlee Matlin, and this is my brief but spectacular take on deaf actors in Hollywood.
Thank you, Marlee Matlin, and we are going to let that message sink in.
Next one I have for you is the Today Show. And this is in 2025, last year.
We are back with two talented actors teaming up for a new project. Marlee Matlin is an Academy Award and Golden Globe winner whose resume includes films like Children of a Lesser God and, of course, that hit NBC series, The West Wing.
And Shoshana Stern carved out her own impressive path, starring on television shows like Weeds and the medical drama Grey's Anatomy.
Now, they've come together for a documentary about Marlee's life and career called Marlee Matlin, Not Alone Anymore. Making her directorial debut, Shoshana uses American Sign Language as the film's primary language. Such a powerful project. Marlee and Shoshana are here with interpreters Jack Jason and Robbie Sutton. Good morning to all of you. Congratulations on what's happening here. The film premiered at Sundance, then on to Tribeca. Just, Marlee, tell us about why you wanted to create this project.
Well, actually, I really was approached to do the story of my life. So I thought, okay, fine. I felt it was the right time to be able to tell my journey in my own way, through my own narrative. What better way to do this than that?
Yeah. So it was back in 1987 that you made history as the first deaf actor to win an Oscar. Then 35 years later, your film Coda won Best Picture. And you said after that win, quote, "Not alone anymore." Why did you choose that to be the title of your documentary?
In actuality, I didn't choose the title of this documentary. She chose the title.
Okay.
But she really took a chance when I was telling my story after I won the Oscar. When Coda won Best Picture and won also 2 other awards, I was really relieved to see that Troy Kotsur, another deaf actor, finally got a Best Supporting Actor nomination and a win. And it had been 35 years since I had won, so I felt great. Fine. I'm Not Alone Anymore as the only deaf person to win an Oscar. So she took that and used it as the title for my documentary.
I love that.
Yes, I feel like Not Alone Anymore is a really great representation of not just her experience as a deaf actress, but most deaf people, because 90 to 95% of deaf people are born to hearing families. And so these families don't typically sign. So a lot of the experience of deaf people is to find their community and to find their people. And that's something I wanted to show in the film. So there's many layers to that title.
And Shoshana, you shot this documentary with captions in mind. How did that change the production process, or did it?
It didn't change the production process for me, but it changed it for everybody else. Because I was lucky enough to, direct this film, and I've never seen a deaf director before on television or film. So I didn't take that lightly. So I knew that I needed to do her story justice, and she had faith in me. And so I needed to push form a little bit. And so I took this opportunity to show visually what a documentary could look like if it wasn't sound-based. And so I wanted to push the form of the documentary, including captions, if it was not just for captions, but for a lot of other things. So if you watch the film, it'll be a completely immersive experience of how we experience the world.
Well, and Marlee, it's really your activism with the National Captioning Institute that's the reason why everything we watch has captioning available now. Did you imagine that being a part of the legacy of your career, to have such a tremendous impact?
Well, when I was a little child in Chicago, I remember watching television and saying, or movies, and saying, I wish that was captioned. I wish in some small way there were words on the screen coming across as people were speaking. Wouldn't that be so fun if that could happen? And of course it happened. So when I began my career, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to take advantage of the media spotlight and talk about the need for captions and, support it. And of course, we made the change.
And in watching this film, you're quick to see each caption for each character has a different color. They move across the screen depending on where the characters are, in that moment. Is there a difference in the way captions are built by deaf people, for deaf people, versus traditional captioning?
Well, actually, I don't want to speak for Shoshana, but I know that when each person had their own particular color to identify who was speaking, or talking. It was so that, I mean, you can hear who's talking because you know their voice, and you can easily identify the person. But with the captions, I mean, that's what we did with the docs. It made it so much easier for us as a viewer to know, you know, we didn't feel excluded in a conversation. We could actually see who is speaking because they're identified by the color and where their placement.
I partnered with an amazing deaf woman. Her name is Allison O'Daniel, and she's a director herself. I worked on the captions with her. And so typically captions are created by hearing people, which is great, but they don't need them as much as we do. So I thought it would be really fun, not just to make them more accessible, but just to make them more fun. Accessibility makes the world a better place.
It absolutely does.
Great.
Thank you both so much for the incredible work that you're doing. We appreciate you being here. And Marlee Matlin, Not Alone Anymore, opens in select theaters on June 20th. Yay.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for all you've done for all these years, Marlee.
The next one I have for you is Parade Magazine, and again, it's in 2025.
I learned so much about myself watching that film, the way that she tied it into my life and the experiences that I had in my career, and bringing all those elements together.
Congratulations on such a moving and truly powerful film. I really just wanted to start by focusing on the decision to tell your story in this way, in this documentary format. Of course, we know you already have such a successful book that told your story, but what about this format was enticing to you?
When I wrote the book, which is many years ago, I wrote it with another author, and they were wonderful and very helpful, and they got me, pretty much. But it was in a way where this film does more, because I'm on screen telling the story on film, knowing that it would be more visual, it would come across more clearly about who I am, where I come from, and why I am, or who I am the way I am.
And I think, too, there's such an interesting way that the film uses timeline. We start right off the bat, really, with your historic Oscars win, of course, for Children of a Lesser God, which you became the first deaf actress to win an Oscar, but also the youngest actress to win as well. And I found it fascinating that instead of just starting from the beginning, which we do get there to your childhood, we start at this moment, and then we get to revisit it at different times in the film with more context about you and what you were going through. So talk to me about that too, and trusting telling your story in this way that isn't linear.
The way that you saw the film, the way she structured the timeline from the Oscars, then going back and forth and back and forth, but the way that she structured the timeline, she got right to the point to talking about how the media, as well as people out there in the community, perceived me at the time, where I was really not clued into it because I didn't understand how I was being treated. I'm not talking about all media, but in particular the media were the experiences that I had with people who were asking me questions at the time. It's really amazing what happened. I was young, I was naive, and I really wasn't in the know 100% how they were treating me until I actually saw the documentary and had a chance to revisit that. And I learned so much about myself watching that film, the way that Shoshana structured it, the way that she framed it, the way that she tied it into my life, and the experiences that I had in my career, and then reinforced it with how the deaf community treated me and how we've been treated in general, and bringing all those elements together. Every time I watch the film, I learn something.
You start the film off with this huge historic Oscars moment. Then we keep coming back to it after we have more context, after we know more about her, as she's reprocessing these big moments as well. So talk to me about that approach too, in terms of, you could have just started this right from the beginning of childhood to the end. What made you take that approach as well?
I wanted to go through like a figure eight in a way, because I think that's really what a lot of us do Life is linear, it is, but the way we process it, it's not. We often have to process the same thing over and over again in our minds and in our bodies to understand, oh, that's what really happened. But with her Oscar win, Marlee's Oscar win, I wanted to show how much, no offense, hearing people do miss, because they are just relying on sound. And so when it's so celebratory in that room, in the sound mix, we made sure to pull out those specific sounds so that you could hear people cheering. We elevated all those noises so people feel like, wow, what a great moment. But it's because they're not listening. They're not looking with their eyes. And I remember when I was 7 and I saw Marlee win her Oscar, I remember watching on TV and thinking, no, there's something in Marlee's face. There's just something in her expression. For her to be brave enough to finally come out and release in her book what had actually happened, that's what I had been feeling when I saw her win the Oscar. And I wanted to make sure that the audience could see the story again, but listen differently, listen with their eyes to have that realization. Oh, all of her experiences have been happening right in front of our eyes, which a lot of things now are out in the open. The abuse happened, it was in the open. They were in front of the public eye. Oppression also happens out in the open. Discrimination happens out in the open. And a lot of times we just try to claim that we don't know that it's going on.
When I watch, I think, okay, I was forced into being the face of accessibility, that I really wasn't prepared or in the know. I necessarily didn't have the experience that I could talk about accessibility. All I wanted to do was to talk about closed captioning. That's all I wanted to talk about because I loved watching films and television. And then everything blew up from there. I mean, if I had to do it all over again, I would understand what they were trying to do and what I was trying to do too. What happened can't happen again. How it happened can't happen again. But it's still going on. It's still going on. We're still being manipulated. It's an oppressive feeling. It's using the excuse of, well, we just need to be educated and we are asking questions. But we're still trying to explain or educate, still at this point. But it doesn't seem to be making an impact. So hopefully this film will be able to make that impact and people go, oh, okay, this is what's been happening.
The film also tackles some heavy topics in your life and, of course, abuse that you endured with your ex. So talk to me, and I know you did a lot of that work through your book, but what about this process again, being able to look back on that time and not only how that affected you, but when you finally did get to tell your story through your book, how it affected maybe your family or how being able to speak out in that way?
Actually, when I wrote the book, it was up to me how much I wanted to reveal. As far as the film goes, Shoshana made it clear not to really dwell too much on my experiences with domestic violence and sexual abuse. Yet, at the same time, it was up to me. She allowed me to talk as much as I wanted to talk about or share as much as I wanted to. In all honesty, in all truth, deaf women in general do experience domestic violence. The situation is quite urgent for them, and they need help. As far as my drug abuse goes, and talking about it in the film, I decided to become sober, as I indicated, and that's the best gift I ever gave myself. And I've been sober for 38 years. There are deaf people out there who probably that people don't know that need rehab, that need help. There's almost none in terms of services available for them. So I chose to talk about these two issues because I knew that it's happening out there, that people needed to be clued in on, that people out there perhaps could have the power or the money to set up programs for them or shelters for them. There are shelters, there are help, there are organizations, but they are few and far between. I want more.
There's that one particular moment, I know, when you did choose to go to that center, how you had to pay for your own interpreters there. You didn't expect that, of course. It's the place where you would go to get help.
You know, it's funny, at the time when I was at the Betty Ford Center, I thought, okay, this is what I need to do. I had to choose my battles. I needed rehab. I needed the interpreter. So what am I supposed to do? So I did ask, look, can you help pay for the interpreters? And they said no. Again, I asked, I think 2 or 3 or 4 times. I had to pay for my own access, which is ridiculous. But that's going on every day. We have to pay for our access. Why? Do we need to pay for the ramps for people who have mobility issues? The cities have no problems paying for that. You know the little sound that they make when you cross the street for people who have visual issues? They pay for that. Why can't they pay for our interpreters? A lot has to do with the Americans with Disabilities Act, knowing that it's up to them to be, to make schools accessible and medical facilities accessible. But a lot of people are still not in the know. We have a lot of work to do.
What does this next chapter look like for you?
The next chapter for me is, first of all, personally, watch my granddaughter grow up. She's 14 months old, and she's really a beautiful presence in my life. She gives me the opportunity to watch someone grow. And I have 4 kids. I've always busy, sort of maintaining and helping, and so proud of them, all 4 of them. But because Brooklyn doesn't live with me, I'm always looking forward to seeing her again and be able to, it's just 20 minutes away, but I feel like I'm there to help her see what she's learning, to watch her growing again. It's so nice to be able to watch from a distance. And she loves me too. But on a professional level, in terms of the next chapter, I don't like to talk about it because I don't know what it is that's going to happen. When I have something, then I always am eager to talk about them. I'm very excited, but at the same time, I'm sure it applies to a lot of actors out there. When you're working, you're thinking this is great, but then you're also thinking what's going to happen next, and you get concerned all over again. But as we speak, I'm just waiting on answers. But for now, I'm focused on the documentary and promoting it and encouraging everyone to see it.
Now I have the trailer for you of her movie, Not Alone.
Delta camera, mark.
Marlee Matlin's career has spanned dozens of film and TV projects since she became the youngest person to win a Best Actress Academy Award.
A pioneer representing deaf actors in Hollywood.
Hi, my name is Marlee Matlin.
The movie Children of a Lesser God is generating a lot of buzz, including a Best Actress nomination for newcomer Marlee Matlin.
I remember that my heart started pounding the minute I saw her.
Do you feel that you might be a sentimental favorite?
I'm Master Robert 12, and I'm 58, so how lucky is that? I don't know, man.
I don't either, because I'm in the bottom 3% academically.
It's not. She was brilliant and she was hilarious.
I hope you realize you are more than what people think you are. Be the difference and be loud.
Video I have for the evening is a reminiscence with Henry Winkler and Marley.
You had too much inside of you. And I'm not talking about just drive, but whatever it is that shoots out of a human being and captures the audience, that's already in you. I can't give that to you. Nobody can give that to you.
No, I think, and I appreciate that. I mean, I appreciate that comment, but I'm talking about getting to where I am today wouldn't have been the same if it weren't for you.
Well, I was there for you.
Because you let me stay at your house for 2 years.
I did. Oh, did I ever. Unbelievable. Never cleaned her room.
I know.
Every boyfriend that came, I had to answer the door. Oh, she'll be right there. And if they were tall enough...
But you like the tall ones, yes.
I did.
Why?
They changed the light bulb. That's no joke. I was not a fan of climbing a ladder.
Do you remember the big earthquake where you came running down the stairs?
In my underwear?
Yeah.
With my brown socks? Who was I holding? I was holding Max. And then I slid down the last landing.
Yep.
Yeah, that must have been a beautiful sight.